Now we are heading for the impact session. I think this is not the most important, but this is one of the important sessions today because we did some testings in simulated surroundings. We did some testings in real life, in field operational tests. And the question in the end is, how does that scale up to a European level? And so we did some math, or Johann did some math, and he's going to present on how that looks like right now. Very keen to hear your contribution. Johann, welcome.
Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Johann Ziegler. I'm a research assistant at the Institute of Traffic Accident Research called VUFO at the University of Dresden. Our main work at the Institute is to investigate road traffic accidents on the spot around Dresden. And we do this for the German in-depth accident study. Besides these accident collection or investigations, we have a department for data analysis and simulation. And I'm a part of the data analysis. And we worked nearly the whole day with different accident databases. And for the MeBeSafe project, we worked on the impact assessment. So could you please go on? So for the impact assessment, for the beginning, I give you a short overview of work plan that we did for the impact assessment. So first of all, we collect all information from the MeBeSafe partners. So that's our input, mainly from the results of the field tests. Then we set up a methodology to calculate the impact. And at the end of this process, we've got numbers for the impact to the EU for the years 2025 and 2030. So in the next slide, I will give you the main idea of our impact assessment. So the main idea is that we use in-depth database and extrapolate them to the European level. Why we are doing this? It's very easy because currently the statistics on the European level are very limited in their information. And for all these great measurements that we are developed in the MeBeSafe project, we need a lot of information around the accident, or we need the information about collision speeds, trajectories, and something like that. And these information we did not get from the European statistics. So the idea is we use the in-depth database, and in this case, the GIDAS database, and extrapolate them on baseline of the CARE database to the European level. So and on the next slide, I show you the methodology of our impact assessment, and that's based on this main idea. So we use in the database and extrapolate then to the European level. The same process or the methodology is used in the European Advantage Award program by the Euro NCAP, and they established a new, or this method is for the elevation of new safety systems for the automotive industry and mainly for the customers in the EU. And we adapt this method for the MeBeSafe project and split them in two phases. The one phase is that we select the addressable accident scenarios from the GIDAS database, depending on the nudging measures. So we build up here a safety potential group. And then we go into the second phase with the safety potential group, and we can also call the second phase as an extrapolation phase. So in this phase, we use the safety potential group, compare it with the total number of accident scenarios on personal level, and create a percentage of safety potential. And this is the main figure that we use to extrapolate then the results from the GIDAS database to the European level. So we multiplied the safety potential with the numbers of injured persons on a European level. And that we get an absolute number of addressable injured person on the European level. So, and as I said, we use there the CARE database with the latest update from 2016, and we have to extrapolate them to 2025 and 2030. Therefore, we use the trend between the accident scenario in the EU from 2010 and 2016. And we assume this trend as constant for the next periods to 2025 and 2030. We can go on. And there I show you a flow chart. So right now we discussed the methodology of the safety potential and what we did there. And that we can also call as the absolute number of addressable people by each nudging measure. So in the next step, we have to adjust these absolute number by our influence factors. And most of these influence factors come from the results of the nudging of the field trials, mainly the benefit and numbers of people who are addressed by the nudging measures. And we also include 3 other influence factors. This mainly was the on rate. This describes the time the nudging measure is on or off. And maybe for infrastructure measures, it's always on. So we can here assume 100% for that. Then we implemented 3 marked penetration scenarios. One total scenario, there we expect 100% marked penetration for the years 2025 and 2030. And we developed an optimistic scenario and also a pessimistic scenario. And later on, I will talk about the most realistic scenario. And there we choose the most realistic scenario, a marked penetration scenario per each measurement, and what kind of a scenario we are choose that also in the deliverable. So I refer here at this point to the deliverable 5.0. And the last influence factor that we include in our calculation is the double address factor that take a look into the accident scenarios that could be addressed twice mainly by the in-vehicle nudge and also can be addressed by the infrastructure nudge. And so we have to exclude the double address accidents. So in the next slide, I give you a short overview of our filter criteria that we used for each nudging measure. Here there was only 2 challenges that we have. One challenge was on the coaching side. So due to the technical problems and the corona crisis, the numbers of drivers that we have and the results and trips was too small and not too robust for a realistic impact assessment. So consequently, we cannot really evaluate the 3 types of behavior. And so indeed we extrapolation or assessment on the general effect on the driver coaching nudge. The other challenge was on the infrastructure side for the safe speed and trajectory. There is currently no statistics on these accidents that happened after a motorway exit by a police reported databases. So we have to go more in deep into our GITAS database and select realistic accident scenarios. And partly we have to go we have to take a look in each single motorway accident, and in the end we have a single case analysis done by around about 350 accidents. So these filter criteria and quite a lot of more filter criteria and boundary conditions are implemented in our method. And in the end, next slide please, we've got an overall summary where we sum all of our methods together, and we split this, or I split this slide into the total scenario that is expecting with a total mark penetration of 100% for the year 2025 and 2030. And on the right side, the most realistic mark penetration for each matching measure. So for the total one, we could address in 2025 1,599 fertilities, and 5 years later we can address with the same nudging measures 1,635 fertilities, in 2030. So, but the most realistic estimation gives us the results that we could address 166 fertilities in 2025 and 326 fertilities in 2030. And the numbers of the serious and slightly injured persons are quite a little bit higher than the fertilities. But right now I don't want to go in deep to these numbers. I go further because of the time. So next slide, please. Also, or besides the impact assessment, now we also did economy impact calculation. Here there is note that we only use the medical cost by injury severity for the economy cost calculation. So we use cost rates from a different or from other or a European project called Safety Tube project from 2016, and this value we used for our calculation and for the economy impact. So, but we have to adjust these numbers for our years to 2025 and 2030, and therefore we used a growth rate from 1.8%, and then we got the numbers in this table below, and according to these numbers, we multiply our utilities and slightly and serious injured persons with these numbers of costs. So in the next slide, you can see the savings by the medical cost on the EU level, by the total assumption and by the realistic assumption of addressable persons in the EU. So for the total estimation with total mark penetration, we could save for the EU in 2025 80.5 billion euros and 24.2 billion euros in 2030. And for the more realistic scenario, we could assume that we saved 1.9 billion euros in 2025 and 2.1 billion euros in 2030. So now I will come to my last slide, the wrap up or conclusion of our impact assessment. We showed we could adapt the methodology of the European NSCP Advanced Award Program to our specifications of the MeBeSafe project. And in preparation of our impact assessment, we set up a workshop and we invite all people of the consortium and everyone who was interested for the impact calculation. And in this workshop, we set up our methodology. We talk about the different methods that are used in European projects. And after the settings to our impact assessment, we began with the interviews. Each MeBeSafe partner or MeBeSafe leader of a measurement was interviewed by us and to identify the specification of their measure. In total, we did 11 impact assessments for 8 measurements that we have in the MeBeSafe project. with various influence factors that I show in an early slide, and with these three market penetration scenarios. So the final sentence of these slides could be that the most plausible market penetration scenarios in the MeBeSafe project address 166 utilities in 2025 and 326 utilities in 2030. In total, the measurements could save economy costs by 1.9 billion euros in 2025 and 2.1 billion euros in 2030. So independent from all these influence factors and market penetration scenarios, the in-vehicle nudges or measurements and the coaching measurements show the greater potential for influence or the addressable people for the EU in these years for 2025 and 2030. But it was for us very difficult because instead of for the infrastructure measures, the estimation of a market penetration was very difficult because currently there are no studies established in the EU that give us an idea what will be a market penetration of infrastructure measures. So therefore, the market penetration rates for the infrastructure measures are replaced by the equip rate for the accident hotspots. And that's a point that is, there are potential for more research that we think to do to build up a more realistic estimation for the infrastructure measures. And yeah, so that's our opinion of our opinion from the research and the impact assessment. So I thank you for your attention a little bit over the time, but I hope you get a sneak preview or insight of our impact assessment. So thank you. And
okay, super. Thank you, Johann, for these insights into your impact calculations regarding all the measures invented in MeBeSafe.